everyone. My name is Victoria, and my teammates are Carmen, Gina, Chahat, Sarah, and Samuel. We are the Next Step Consulting. We're the team brought in to help with the organizational issues within Biscuit and Co. Our team came up with three major problems that Richard Murphy had in the company: his damaging relationship with Andrew Eastern, the growing subcultures within the organization, and the ongoing work culture issues. Our overall objective for Murphy to lead a better leadership experience in the company is to embrace change, but acknowledging the past and traditions. As mentioned earlier, one of the major problems that Murphy had was his deteriorating relationship with Andrew Eastern. Based on this diagram shown, they had differing approaches with their experiences, communications, and work styles. Small tensions eventually grew to serious conflict in management. From the start, Murphy had a lot of questions, but with his detailed questions, they were intended to better understand the company. But to Eastern, it came off rather accusatory, disrespectful, and showed lack of trust, which made him grow distant. Based on their opposing personalities as well, the clashing caused even further misunderstanding between the two. Murphy relied on structure and transparency, while Eastern preferred a rather informal communication. Some of these tensions stem from Eastern's insecurity from his lack of experience in the marketing field, which did lead him to misunderstand Murphy's intention. Eventually, this whole growing tension and conflict between the two left both men to believe that the other was being uncooperative and mistrusting.
Murphy can enhance his relationship with Easton in three ways using the micro approach. That is, by using conflict management and changing from a competitive to a collaborative style. Firstly, he must address the lack of confidence by attributing successful board endorsed initiatives like the launch of the Healthy Line to Easton's decisive decision making and risk management skills rather than his own execution. This will reinforce Easton's belief in his authority and ability to lead change, making him more proactive and less defensive. Secondly, he can use collaborative mediation rather than a defensive approach by asking Easton to co chair all the interfunctional conflict resolution, especially operations versus sales issues, forcing him to act as an objective managing director. This will validate Easton's role as the company director and make him feel less compelled to side with the old guard purely out of loyalty. Lastly, rather than approaching with a transactional relation, Murphy must approach his relationship with Easton in a more relational approach. This can be done by adapting citizenship behavior with the company. He can do this by understanding the upbringing and nature of Easton, which is more financially driven, and thus present new ideas as drafts and ask Easton for his specific figure based inputs. This reduces Easton's feelings of being undermined and leverages his financial skill set to make him an active participant rather than a passive blocker.
So at the meso level, a big problem for Biscuit and Co. was the divide between the sales and operations team. Some things that helped create this divide was not having shared goals, and equity theory also played a part of that. Equity theory suggests that employees had perceptions of unfairness. So as a result, collaborative cooperation and trust was like at an all-time low. Ultimately, the lack of shared goals combined with perceived imbalance in contribution and reward deepened this divide, which hindered productive collaboration.
Right now at Biscuit and Co., the old guard in production and the new guard in marketing are split into two opposing teams. They both care about the company, but they value completely different things, which is why we see relationship conflict, task conflict, and even process conflict show up in every aspect of the company. To move forward, these groups need shared goals and shared workflows. When the old guard and the new guard are put on the same project with the same objective, it breaks this us versus them dynamic that we learned about in social identity theory. It builds trust, it lowers resistance to change, and gets both sides aligned instead of pulling against each other. And once everyone co-creates clear expectations and decision rules, there's way less confusion and fewer opportunities for conflict to keep arising and repeating itself. This is how you rebuild collaboration at the meso level and actually make change last long term. So, everything on this slide works together. Shared goals align the team, and shared processes reduce confusion. When you combine both, you remove the root of the conflict instead of just its symptoms.
Now, I would like to highlight the macro level problems that are holding Biscuits & Co. back as an organization. The first one that we can notice is that the company has an outdated change-resistant culture. Most of the practices in the company are rooted in tradition, routine, long tenure, and employees are used to doing things the way they always been done. That mindset makes innovation very difficult. Second of all, the organization structure is heavily biased towards operation, which means production and finance dominate decision making, while marketing and sales are being put on the side because they have little influence. This structure creates a big disconnect between what the market needs and what the company actually prioritizes. Third, Biscuits & Co. lacks a clear strategic direction. There's no real competitive analysis, no long-term planning, and little awareness on how the marketing is shifting, especially when it comes to the rise of healthier food products. Fourth, the company leadership isn't equipped to drive major change. The top level leader maintains this old mindset and doesn't provide the support or alignment for transformation. All these factors, because of them, there's this system wide resistance to change. New innovatives stall, departments don't really align, and the organization struggles to move forward. These macro problems create an environment where change is necessary, but the organization is structurally and culturally unprepared to support it. Now, what can we do to improve it?
On a macro level, my team and I discussed building a motivation supportive culture within Biscuit & Co. We would start with supporting autonomy, implementing cross-functional decision-making groups, and structured collaboration between departments so there is not one main priority, such as marketing. Building confidence and competence, company-wide training on new processes, strategies, and communication so all employees are on the same page and no one feels left behind or create insecurities. Motivation via rewards. Rewards based on performance, incentives tied to cooperation and shared goals. This will help keep everyone on track, want to meet their goals, and take their roles more seriously. Gradual change. Move forward in phases to reduce fear and increase confidence, psychological safety, and support long-term motivation. Lastly, acknowledging tradition. Dedicate certain days to honor the founder, certain company customs to remain untouched, and to keep company history alive. Great for morale of senior and legacy employees. This shows respect, which will gain trust. What we expect as the outcome would be increased motivation. A new culture is then created while preserving older traditions. This will support intrinsic motivation, unity among employees, and sustainable organizational change, creating one common goal for everyone. Although Murphy had some great points, his failures outweighed them all. Our evaluation was based on Murphy's approach. Our consulting team can conclude that he had the right idea but failed to act on it correctly. Murphy is used to fast-paced, high-risk, high-reward approach, something that does not align with the culture and values of Biscuit & Co. We believe that the best approach is to acknowledge the past while embracing the future, creating a bridge between tradition, modernization, without ambushing the culture of the organization.